Okay, Linda, let's talk about this. This is up on the Sunshine Coast, Girls Weekend, Airbnb. They had seen this thing on social media that you should search for cameras. So they did it, and then they found.
You know, that is just so crazy to me because now it's going to freak me out.
Yeah.
If I ever decide to do an Airbnb or a VRBO in the future, this is crazy. I don't know if you've seen this on the news, but one of the women who was involved in this weekend that went bad put a little bit of a descriptor on TikTok of what happened. Listen to this.
We just found out we were being watched in our Airbnb. I'll make this quick. There were 15 girls staying in a house for my friend's 30th birthday. One of our friends was like, guys, I'm really paranoid. I feel like there's cameras in the house. And we were like, girl, you watch way too much TikTok. There are no cameras in this house. You're just being dramatic. But she whipped out her flashlight and she went investigating. She looked in like every single shower head, all the picture frames, doorknobs, everywhere in the house for a camera. And she found one. In the bathroom, one of the outlets was faced directly to the shower. Okay, so first of all, this outlet did not work. You couldn't plug anything into it. You can see in the top here, there's nothing. Looks totally normal. And then in the bottom one, look at that little camera.
That is so freaky. Okay, let's go back to what you said.
Hold on. Girlfriend, don't question her if she's going to run around looking for cameras.
Yeah, you do you, boo. Yeah. Find me that. It's a very good point,
right?
Steele. 100% agree with that. Or just no. I will never feel, it's kind of like going camping after watching a horror movie.
Right?
You're never 100% comfortable sitting in the dark at the campfire for fear of, whatever Jason from Halloween or Michael Myers jumping out at you.
You know what's really frustrated me about this whole Airbnb thing? Not just that, but just in general, the short-term rentals, is that this province, rightfully is concerned about the lack of rental stock.
100%.
And so it's been doing a whole bunch of different things like, forcing stratas to get rid of their rental restrictions. And then it sort of upped the ante. There was new headline.
Yep.
There were some stratas that said, okay, then we're going to be a 55 plus.
Right.
And then that started to impact some people who were planning on having kids who lived in these stratas.
Or lived with their younger
people.
people.
Governments changed the rules again. And I thought, okay, fair enough. If you're going to mess around with my strata, then why don't you look at the Airbnb situation, which is a huge problem.
Remember we talked to Tony Gioventu about this, where we're talking about the whole strata, new rules, blah, blah, blah.
From the Condo Homeowners Association of
Yes.
BC. We said we're bringing him back on, so we're going to do this. Tony Gioventu is joining us now. Thank you so much for doing this, Tony.
Always a pleasure. Yeah, it is creepy. I totally agree.
It's crazy. But even, when we were talking to you about the strata rule changes, we touched on Airbnbs just the very end of that segment. You're like, we could do a whole segment on that. Where are we with regard to numbers when we talk about, rental stocks and strata versus Airbnb? Just give us the little Coles notes on the foundation of this.
Well, the government changed or deleted the rental bylaws in anticipation of making 3,000 rental units available that were allegedly not occupied, versus the real issue, which is 50,000 strata units across the province that are being used for Airbnbs. And they're not conventional Airbnbs. They're not where an owner lives in the unit and somebody's visiting and staying with them. These are investors or individuals that had rental units, or even tenants who rented units, who basically vacated the units and they're using them as Airbnbs, short-term accommodations. It's lucrative. It's a quick return. You don't have to deal with landlord tenancy issues. There are all kinds of financial, monetary benefits for the property owner, but it's a significant problem for strata corporations. It causes ongoing noise issues. We've had security problems where organized crime have gotten into a building using an Airbnb and then robbed out storage lockers and other units. This is not necessarily a safe way to be living in multifamily buildings.
And here's the thing, Tony. I mean, there are supposed to be rules. You're not supposed to be able to just have a complete suite as an investor and have it on Airbnb to make the neighbors crazy. You're not supposed to be allowed to do that. And yet people are apparently doing that. So clearly there needs to be some regulation around this, maybe on a provincial level.
Yeah, they're not. The municipalities are not enforcing this. That's really what it comes down to, and it's just around. I think it's more of a capacity issue than anything. But single buildings alone in the downtown area, we know that there are 25 or 30 Airbnbs in a single building, and one investor is either owning or controlling the majority of them. So, how can the municipality be enforcing that when that's occurring? We have lost a lot of rental units, a lot of available units to Airbnb, and it's far greater than the small number that were being affected by basic rental bylaws. So, I think I agree. The province has to look at Airbnbs. We've had a number of jurisdictions, large jurisdictions around the world. They've just outright banned them because it's such a terrible loss of housing.
Yeah. It's quite something, though, when you think about, I remember when the municipalities started to do the registry where you had to have a business license of some sort, that you had to register, that you had an Airbnb, and that would have curbed it somewhat, and it basically had no impact, it seems. 50,000 units seems like a rather large number versus, as you said, 3,000 plus in the strata supply. What needs to be done to change this, in your opinion?
Realistically, I think the ideal is that there are targeted neighborhoods or areas that are resort or entertainment related, that are designated only for Airbnb. We have buildings in Toronto, that high-rise buildings that were constructed, and they were constructed exclusively for the purpose of Airbnb, and they're managed and they're basically perform in that manner, and that works incredibly well. I think if we do something like that with designated areas, and then the remainder of the properties in the province are just purely exempted, that there are simply no Airbnbs elsewhere, that will help to curb this issue. But it's interesting because then everybody plays with the numbers to make it sound like more or less, depending on which position you're defending. But there are so many units available when you start going by municipality or region across the province that are available for Airbnb. It's really quite incredible. And it's not just Airbnb, it's vacation rental by owner, it's high street, it's a variety of these different performers who are doing this. The other side is that there are real estate / rental companies who are basically managing rentals for landlords, right? Guaranteeing the landlord, let's say $3,500 a month for rental. They're not renting them out. They're using them for Airbnbs. Yeah. And there is a significant number of complaints now at the residential tenancy office of tenants who, without the authority of the owners, have basically abandoned the unit and are using it for Airbnb revenue and doubling up or tripling up on the revenues of what they would have paid for rent. So, no, I think a ban or very tight restrictions is going to be absolutely necessary.
I would agree with you. Tony, thank you so much for bringing some light to this issue, because I think people would be astonished to know 50,000 suites that could go into the rental.
In BC. That's just in BC? Market.
Yeah, just in BC. Well, look at Montreal also, right? Certain boroughs of Montreal have just banned Airbnb entirely. No short-term accommodations because so much rental housing has been lost.
Tony, thank you so much for this.
It's a pleasure. Have a great day.
Yeah, you as well. That's Tony Gioventu. He is the executive director of the Condo Homeowners Association of BC. And here's another thing. So I live in a strata. The province took away the strata's right to restrict rentals. And now we have some owners who are saying, we'd like to do short-term rentals. We're like, no, you're creating more problems than you're solving.
Yeah, no kidding. So that totally backfired. I wonder when it gets walked back. We'll keep you posted right here on Steel and Vance. Really cool segment coming up here. I'm really fascinated to learn about this.
This is going to be super fascinating. It's a new documentary about a threat to bomb the BC legislature, and it's raising concerns about how law enforcement entraps would-be criminals. Stay tuned for that.